Namaskar, Annyeonghaseyo. This is Sonu Trivedi, your host for today, in conversation with our guest, Ms Balaka Niyazee, who is CEO of Procter Gamble, Korea. Friends, this is a newly launched talk series under Azadi Ka Arimit Mahotsav, recognizing the contribution of Indian community members abroad. Under this series, we will bring before you every month an Indian personality in Republic of Korea who has made a significant contribution in their respective work field, at the same time, keeping close to the Indian culture and tradition. A truly cultural ambassador of India, I must say. In subsequent months, we will get to see many more such faces, familiar or unfamiliar, who have been inspiring young minds and also keeping up with the ethos of multicultural Bharatiya tradition. To begin today's session, let me introduce our guest for today, Ms Balaka, who has spent 24 years in the corporate world, living and working across 4 countries in Asia Pacific, Western Europe, and Greater China. She is a passionate champion of equality and inclusion. She has now spent over 5 years in Republic of Korea and lives in Seoul with her daughter, husband, and parents, all 3 generations under the same roof. So far as her professional life is concerned, she has multiple affiliations. She serves as the board of governor at the American Chamber of Commerce in Korea. She is also a member of board for the US-Korea Business Council, member of Foreign Investment Advisory Council at Seoul Metropolitan Government, and she also volunteers at Overseas Girl Scout at Seoul. She has won many accolades over the years. She is a recipient of 2019 Alumni Award for Corporate Excellence at her institution, SPJIMR in India. She has led Procter & Gamble Asia Pacific, Middle East and Africa to win AC Award for Women Empowerment from US Department of State in 2019. Ms Balaka is also the recipient of Honorary Citizenship of Seoul Award from Seoul Metropolitan Government Republic of Korea in 2020 and the winner of Commendation from Honorable Prime Minister of Republic of Korea for Gender Equality in 2020. Well, Ms Balaka, welcome to the session. From your bio, I see you have received many awards and many accolades. So what's coming next?
Well, thank you. And namaste, annyeonghaseyo to all the viewers. Thank you for joining on your Saturday. And I look forward to chatting with Dr. Sonu Trivedi. I'm really honored to be here, and I'm looking forward to our chat. So answering your first question, in fact, when I look back, I worked hard, but sometimes it landed in a great recognition, and which was a great moment of pride and joy. I have to say, it made me so happy. And sometimes it doesn't, and I think that's the way I see it in future as well. I want to continue to do my very best and be sincere. And if recognition comes, thanks to effort of many who actually work with me, I will be truly honored. But otherwise, work keeps me going. So I will continue to do my very best.
That's truly from your heart. Can we begin the conversation by knowing more about what brought you to Seoul and how has your stay been so far here?
Well, my job actually brought me here. So we came here for the first time in 2014. And then again in 2018, and both times I moved with my company Procter & Gamble. And the first time it was a great role, and I thought it's going to be great for me professionally. And as always, my family was super supportive, and they said that we can work everything out around it, if it is a great move for you. So we came here. And second time, of course, we knew Korea well, so we lapped this opportunity, and we came the second time in 2018. So far, I can talk for hours of our experience in Korea, but overall, it's been a fantastic journey, both professionally and personally. Professionally, I got to work so much with the government, with many external stakeholders like Seoul Metropolitan Government, many NGOs, and that really opened up the new facet of Korea, which I never knew. And that gave me an opportunity to know the country better and also to bring my best self to the work. Personally, as I look back, I'm a different person than I was in 2014. So, like any place or any experience, the country grows on you, and so has Korea. and I have grown personally. I have learned many new things, and I must say that I may not be able to articulate it as well, but it has made a difference in me for good. And we can talk about it in detail. If I give some examples, it will perhaps come to life. But it's been a fantastic journey.
So just moving ahead, when you heard for the first time that you would move to South Korea, what went through your mind and how did you prepare yourself to start your life here?
I actually, both me and my husband, we have moved a lot before coming to Korea. So we have been very adventurous about going to a new country, and we always were very open to any opportunity. So it wasn't something that was, very, very difficult for us to accept. We knew that our jobs, our careers involved traveling, so it was a great opportunity. But to be honest, back in 2014, I knew that professionally it's going to be great for me because, I have grown up in sales, and it was a sales head role for the country, which is a dream role for anyone. So I thought this is going to be great for my career, and I didn't have much concern on that. But I did not know much about Korea. At that time, funnily enough, I knew Korea for the famous, Psy music of Gangnam Style. I knew the LGs and Samsungs of the world, but I didn't know much more than that. So it was a fear of unknown, but the excitement of what lies ahead. And I did a lot of research and I read a lot of books. I spoke to many people, Koreans and non-Koreans who've lived in Korea, the people from Indian community who are super helpful. And I collected, many, many insights about living here. And we came with very, very open mind, but very prepared for what could be in store for us.
That's quite interesting. Tell us something more about how you've been living here, what has surprised you, and what are the challenges that you have faced personally living in Korea? How is it different from your experience in other countries?
That's a very good question. And actually, the fact is now not a country, but in terms of city, Seoul is the city I've probably spent the longest time beyond my own hometown. So it's longer than Singapore, longer than Dublin. So it's one of the longest times I have spent here. So, I have become almost a part of this country to the extent that when both me and my husband, we travel somewhere else, and when we see Koreans abroad, we say, oh, they are from our country. I mean, that is how we have got integrated into the country. But coming back to your question, which is, how is it different from other countries? I think the single biggest difference that I found, which is fascinating, is the fact that this is a very homogeneous country. As opposed to India, where we come from, which is extremely diverse, or even Singapore is quite diverse, I found Korea to be quite homogeneous. And I think that is the reason there are certain elements of this country, this culture, which stands out very uniquely in terms of its character, which makes it so unique. There are many, many things which are very, very unique about this culture. You can think about food, the music, the drama. But, one thing that surprised me about this place is obviously winter. I had read that it's very cold and minus 20 degrees and whatnot. And I was thinking it will be very cold, which it was. It was more colder than I thought. But interestingly, what surprised me was how the country is prepared for the winter. And it is amazing, right from the house to, the taxi to the office, and even the whole industry around the winter makes it such a great time. And we started to enjoy the winter. So, my message to anyone who's watching and is thinking of coming to Korea and is reading about the winter, please know that this country really knows and gets its act together, probably better than anyone else when it comes to winter. So that was a pleasant surprise for me. I had many other surprises. The healthcare surprised me a lot positively. Unfortunately, my dad had a medical emergency within 2 months of me getting to Korea. And I was really, really grateful that he got probably one of the best medical care compared to most other countries that I've lived. And I am continued to be surprised by many facets of this country, and it still reveals itself in many ways, which are all very, very welcome.
Well, we'll discuss many of those issues in the course of our conversation. But have you picked up Korean? You've stayed here for 5 years.
Not very much. I can understand, and actually, my husband and my daughter, they can. My husband can speak fluent Korean and he can read and write. My daughter can understand and can read. I can understand, but I always say to my Korean friends and colleagues that their English is better than my Korean. That's my excuse of getting away with it. So not really. I'm not very fluent, I have to be honest.
Well, we have seen that you are staying in this foreign country with 3 generations at home. So does your family enjoy this place equally?
Well, I hope so. I hope they do. But to be honest, I've seen so much change in my own family. I don't think much about, how it is. I'm not very worried about most of the things when it comes to, living in a country. For me, living with my family, no matter where it is more important than, living in a particular city. But as far as my parents are concerned, they live with us from time to time. And I think it's hard for them to adapt to a foreign country. But I have to say, and I'm so proud of them, that they have always looked at the more positive side of it. And they have actually tried to learn many things here to, live with us and be with my daughter, which is very, I'm so grateful for that. My daughter, on the other hand, also had a trouble, adapting. She was very small, but now she's at a stage where she thinks that, even if we were to leave, which we may have to leave at some point, she wants to come back and work here. So that tells me that she really enjoys, and, she loves the food, she loves the culture, the music, she loves, and she's very passionate about Taekwondo. She learned up to red and black belt grade, and my husband, he absolutely loves this place. So I have to say that I'm very fortunate that my family has taken it to it as a fish to water.
That's quite interesting to know that your daughter wants to come back and work here.
Yes, yes.
And so far as the Korean culture is concerned, how do you think you have integrated yourself? You've spoken about the food, culture, and all. So how do you feel at? Do you feel at home here in Korea?
Yes, I do. In fact, it's also the fact that, when I grew up in my early childhood, I used to live in a community which had many people from India. So I grew up with people around me. Some people came from the Tamil Nadu, I come from West Bengal, but I lived and grew up in Maharashtra. And I have seen many people around me who came from very different cultures. And I got married to a person who also comes from a different culture. So I think I quite enjoy the nuances and the differences of cultures, and also try to find the common themes. So on Korean culture, I think my discovery has been, and it's reflective, is that there are some common themes in India and Korea, and it's very, very strange actually to find, because we come from very, very different cultures. The common themes that I find very similar are, number one, our respect for elders. I think that is very ingrained in this culture, and which I have found across the generations in both countries. Number two, the value of education. You see, how much in India we focus on our children's education, and so it's here too. And third, I think the drive for success. And I'm amazed at, the people who work around me and with me, their drive for success is probably one of the best. And I think I can say, as Indians, we are also quite driven for success, because, many of us have had stories of challenges and struggles. So those are the common things. But there are also some uniqueness of the culture, which is different. And I think, I want to see how I can learn some of those. And I wanted to show some pictures, but it didn't work out for me. The system didn't support me on that. But I did a few things. I learned how to cook Korean food because my daughter loves it and I love cooking. I started to eat more Korean food this time than I did before. I started to enjoy the music again, because some of the music is what my daughter listens all the time. And then culture is about food, art, language, and the way people go about in their way of life. So how they celebrate their joys, their sorrows. So when I'm with my colleagues, I join them for their wedding. I also join if they have an unfortunate incident with somebody's grandparent passed away, I always go and visit them. So when I see them from close quarters, I see, what it means to for them to go through each emotion and each stage of life. And I think that has helped me to really integrate here. And yeah, I do call it my home, away from home. And I truly mean it. And that's why I work very closely with many of the communities here. And I am absolutely in love with, certain part of my work, which brings me even closer to the country and its people.
Well, I'm sure all the participants who are here would also agree, the drive for success. This is something which we must learn from our Korean friends, and also the way they are disciplined. I'm
Yes.
sure we have many more things to learn from our Korean friends here. And coming to your work environment, like working in a multinational company and being on many corporate boards, how do you contribute to community building?
Actually, I have to say that I'm very fortunate that I have a platform for that, which is, I work for Procter Gamble, which has very good programs, which allows me to do it, but it doesn't tell me how much I should do. So the few things that I do, which links directly to my work, is things that are very close to my heart. One, which is I am a huge believer of women's empowerment, girl child education, supporting single women. So wherever there is an opportunity for me to work with either NGOs or the Ministry of Women and Family, or some marginalized part of the society, I always use my own knowledge, my voice, and also the resources that I have at PNG, so that I can learn with them together and overcome some of the challenges that we have in this society. The second one, which I have tried to do from time to time, is to contribute my personal time wherever possible. So, for example, I volunteer at the Seoul Girl Scouts, which I also did in Singapore, which is the Girl Scouts organization. And that is again something I passionately believe in, which is how can we work with girls early in their childhood to shape their leadership and not stereotype them, to be just the pretty princess, which they should be, but they can be much more than that. So one is, as I said, with PNG, using my voice, using the resources, and using the brands that I actually bring to Korea. And the second one is to use some of my personal time, and I go to many forums where I'm able to speak. I made, a recommendation, very exhaustive recommendation for the Seoul Metropolitan Government on how they can work to bring more women at the workforce, and what can the government do. And many of my recommendations were very appreciated, and some of them we are working to implement. So I think each of us can bring about a change.
Good to know such a noble cause you are also working for. Ms Balaka, moving from here, as we have seen that many of our Indian friends who are willing to come to Korea, and those who have been staying here for some time, they are facing some challenges. So as you have just expressed, you have integrated to the Korean culture, and it was not very difficult for you to mix to this social environment. So any piece of advice that you would give to our Indian community members who are staying here, or anyone who is planning to come and settle here?
Yeah, absolutely. And, to be honest, I mean, I don't know if I made it look like that, but it's not been easy for me, at least in the first time. I came here with a 3-year-old child, and I didn't know the language. I had a full-time job. So it's not been easy. I may have sounded that it was, but I can share with, my friends who are probably going through some challenge or thinking of moving here, some practical ideas and tips. So first of all, never hesitate to ask for help. And I have always learned that I never hesitate to ask for help to anyone. And if ever I need something, even if I need an advice, I always talk to 5-6 people. And I have been amazed how the Indian community in Korea has always risen to help people. And the example is, during the COVID times, many of us had a difficult time to go back to India or bring people from India. And I was one of them. I was trying to get my parents, but so many of our friends, like Mr. Vibhujan and Mr. Lelesh, they all came up with a voluntary forum where they organized so many talks and series, and they made it possible. So reach out to people. There are many associations, there are many forums. We have a lovely WhatsApp group, which is super useful, right from what to give to our kids for lunch box to where to find the best pediatrician. You can get all the resources. So ask for help. Of course, we have a very helpful Indian embassy. And then I think the Korean government is also very welcoming of foreigners. And there are many departments within the ministry where we can ask for help. I've got tremendous help from the immigration department. I've personally gone and met them when I had any issue. I have got a lot of help from the Korean embassy in Mumbai. They have personally written to me whenever, I was seeking help to them. So I think both the Korean government departments as well as our Indian community are the two big places. Apart from that, I did read a lot of books, and I do get a lot of inspiration from people who've lived and worked here and understood the history and culture.
Well, you have rightly spoken about how the Indian community members here are also helping people who want to know more, and if they're facing some challenges, and we have many of them also joining this session live. Maybe we will take up their responses later once we complete our conversation. So I request our participants to be ready with your responses, comments, or questions. You can raise your hand. We will ask you to give your comments live in this session. Moving forward, Ms Balaka, when you go away from Korea, what would you miss the most? That is one thing that we generally ask from people who are moving away.
Yeah, I have thought about it a lot, and there are many things that I will miss, but I'll probably miss the people the most. I have made some of my closest friends here. They are Koreans, and they have been with me in their and my ups and downs. I think the people are the ones that I'll miss. They're extremely warm, I think, which makes this country such a welcoming and such a great country to live. I'm going to miss many other things, how organized it is, how thoughtful this country is, even the smallest of the things that you notice, how the flowers come up, during the spring, when you're driving through the highway, inside the tunnel, there are lighting and different sounds to make sure people are woken up when they're driving. The thoughtfulness combined with the art of this country, it gives me such a great insight into how deep and how closely they think about every small thing of execution. I am absolutely going to miss it. And when I travel to the US, I find it difficult to find my feet there sometimes, because I'm so used to some of these, very small, gentle, but very deep elements of this society. So I'm going to miss the people overall the most.
These are some of the things even we cherish a lot while staying in South Korea, and I'm sure each one of us will miss when we go back to our country. Taking forward this conversation, when I saw your LinkedIn bio, it says you are a huge champion of men as allies in a journey to create a gender equal world. So, Ms. Balaka, how do you practice it in your daily life?
First of all, I should explain what is Men as Allies. So, I have been leading the gender equality for PNG for our region, which is Asia Pacific, Middle East, India, and Africa. And, PNG has been talking about equality for many years. But what I realized, and many of us realized, is that gender equality is not about women. It's not. It's about equality. And when we are talking only to women, about women, we are actually not getting our half of the population to participate and solve the problem. So it is absolutely important for us to get our men in the journey. And it's not just a concept. It's personally for me, if I look back, people who've actually been my cheerleaders have been, men, my dad, my husband, even my husband's uncle who's 80 years plus. Even today, when I do something great, he writes to me a personal note to congratulate me. So at work also, I've had amazing coach mentors. So I've seen how men can actually unleash the potential of women, not as supporters, not as help, but as partners. So the way I practice in my own life is, first of all, both me and my husband are very clear about how we can partner in our household responsibilities. I don't take everything. I'm very clear. I cannot be perfect in everything. So I have certain things that I do. He helps with certain things that he is better at. He does much better job when he plans for travel. He's much good at, teaching my daughter than I am. Second thing, I also have, for a long time now, been very open about sharing my dreams with my family, not just the men of my family, but everyone. So I don't keep my career or my dreams something secret and which ends at the workplace. I talk about it and I tell them my frustrations, my joys, and I celebrate with them. So, and I have found that when we as women show our true interest, our love, our ambition, and our dreams, and share them openly with our family, our partners, or spouse, or dad, we get the support from heart. So they work with me, not because they want to support me for my career. They work and help me on many things because they love me. And when they love someone, they not just share the work at home, they share my dream. And I think that is how I try to have partnership from male, both at work and at home, which is we have to talk about it together as a dream. And when they when it means something to them, they will partner.
Well, in fact, I'm sure all would agree, like working women like you, me, and others, we all work together at home and we all try to make a balance. Moving forward, you briefly mentioned in your conversation that you also volunteer at Overseas Girl Scout in Seoul. So could you speak more about it so that maybe our Indian community members and other participants who have joined live, if they want to contribute, how can they go ahead?
So actually, Girl Scouts is an international organization. It's one of the oldest organization which works with girls from the age of 4 up till the lifetime. And this organization is an international organization with presence in every country. So anybody can look up on the internet. So what I do is last 4 years, I have been a volunteer. I work every alternate Sunday. This year, the session hasn't started yet, but till now, every alternate Sunday. And we have a group of girls and we have a curriculum. Actually, we go through certain activities like working on the environment, on art, on technology, on STEM. So the idea is how can we unleash the leadership in girls at a very early age. Interestingly, GIRL, G-I-R-L, stands for go-getters, innovators, risk takers, and leaders. So we want to imbibe these values early in life, and the details are available on the internet or Facebook if anybody wants their girls to join. I know that Dulwich and some of the Korean schools have a Girl Scout, and actually they also have Boy Scouts which run quite effectively. And I think it's a very good investment of time for young girls to join. And actually volunteers to join and shape it. I don't think we ran it as perfectly as we would have liked because, the people who were running it also are super busy, but sometimes it's amazing how much we can also learn from the young girls. So that's the work.
Well, that's quite interesting. And I'm sure many of us would also like to be engaged with that. And maybe we will try to connect with you personally on this note. Meanwhile, I request our participants to keep your questions ready. We will soon come back to you all for listening more about Ms. Balaka or any other question that you have. You may raise your hand. We will come to you soon. But let me just continue this conversation with Ms. Balaka. And as you have spoken in the beginning, you have spent your life in 4 countries of the world. Out of this, which country stays closest to your heart? If you can speak something about that.
This is a very difficult question and very difficult to answer. It's like telling, which of the children of yours do you love the most? So it's very difficult, and I'm not going to be able to answer it exactly as one country, but I have to say that each country has a special place. Not only a special place, each country has made me who I am today. So each of them have become a part of me, and I am unique today for what I have experienced through this. I was a different person in 2014 than I am now, and I'm sure any other country I go to, I will also feel the same. But the good thing is that every time I go to a country, I feel, oh, this is the best thing that could happen. This is the best place I love. It happened when I moved to Mumbai from my city, Nagpur. It happened when I moved to Singapore. It happened when I moved to Dublin. And each of the places I found was great. And I think it's the people and also the home that makes it great. So I really cherish, and I'm so fortunate that I happen to like all the places, and it's going to be very hard for me to choose, unfortunately.
Well, that was quite interesting. Now we are, as you agree, all would agree, we are living in a pandemic world. We would have loved to have this conversation face to face. We would have invited all our Indian community members at the cultural center, and this conversation would have continued over a cup of tea and snacks, maybe chai and samosa. But this is one of the limitation and constraint of this pandemic. Taking this into consideration, how do you think the work culture has changed in this post-COVID world?
It's a very profound question, and I think we can read a lot about it, and many experts are still figuring this out. And I think it's not just evolved, it's still evolving. So I think the biggest change that I see is not how we work, but how we play, which means, there is work always is going to be there. And to be honest, even though many people couldn't go to the workplace, work continued. If anything, people worked more, right? But how we play means, how do we collaborate with our people, at workplace? How do we come together as a group? How do we network? And that is a lot, that's a lot more important. And I believe that, last 1.5 years has challenged how we network and be together as a team while working. Then there are many other impact of the work culture. One is that because many people are working virtually around the world, it causes a lot of stress and fatigue. And we are always trying to reinvent ourselves by having some practical tips of how you can rejuvenate, how you can de-stress, because staring at a screen without walking in between, it can be very, very stressful. So that part of the work culture which has made work more stressful and more burnouts is also a big challenge. I think on the flip side, there are also other elements. We realize that a lot can get done without travel. And I think that's a good thing. That opens up opportunities for people who could not travel earlier, who could not afford to travel. That has great environmental impact, and that's a good thing. There are also, things that have evolved, which is businesses and entrepreneurs have come up to on the areas the businesses which can run virtually. So we have rediscovered how we work, how we connect, how we play. And I think the culture is still changing, but I think we have the responsibility, most of us as the member of the workforce who are working or as leaders, to see how we can take the positive out of it, still keep the hearts together. I think the screens are connected, but the question is, are the hearts connected? Or, are we able to connect with each other? I feel like we are withdrawing from a bank balance, which we had 1.5 years back. But when I see some of the new hires who are joining, new recruits, they are lost. They have learned so much by watching people. They can't see. They can't ask people on the corridor conversation. They have to rely on formal meetings. So it's a lot of stressful time for people, especially those who are new to workforce. So we have to do more than just digitally connected.
Well, I'm sure all would agree. Yes, we have to work more, but at the same time, this digital world has become a new normal now, and we have to live with it. Coming to my last, maybe that would be my last question, and then we will open the floor. Having spent 24 years in the corporate world, what alternate career would you choose if given a choice 24 years back from now?
Actually, I have to be very honest. When we grew up, unlike the generation now who thinks much more openly and boldly about their careers, they want to do some art, or they want to do something quite, dramatic, being a startup entrepreneur. I think when I grew up, we had a very set definition of success. And that set definition was, you got to become an engineer or you got to become a doctor. And I simply followed the norm. So I did not defy any norm. I just followed the norm. I trained to be an engineer. I got a job. Then I did my master's and I landed in PNG. So it wasn't very well planned. It just I thought, okay, what's the best thing I can do, and let's do it. But if I were to look back and choose something else, one, I could have been an academician, and I had a lot of inclination to study. So I could have been in science and become probably a scientist. I also got, I took admission in Indian Institute of Science for a few days, but I didn't continue. So I could have become a scientist, or my most loved career, even when I worked in PNG, is that of a bureaucrat. I would have loved to be a diplomat.
That's quite interesting to know. With this, I open the floor. I would request our participants who have raised their hands, they can unmute and ask. But before that, there are two questions in the chat box. Maybe you can answer all of them together. There is a question in the chat box saying, which is your lowest moment and how did you overcome it? And the second question is sharing about your funniest moment. You can just keep up, you can give the responses together. Do you want to respond now, or do I request Ms. Beena and Ms. Namrata there in the participant?
Yeah, I can respond now. So the first one is, I didn't get the first question.
Can you share your lowest moment?
Okay.
Lowest moment of your life and how have you overcome it? And the second was your funniest moment.
Yeah, I think my lowest moments of my life have been when the life or health of my family member was at risk. And I think there is nothing more important for me than to make sure that, my family, who I love the most, is safe and healthy. So, we had, my mother-in-law who struggled with cancer and she finally passed away. That was one of my lowest moments, because I know how close she was to my husband, and she was also a big encouragement for me. I also had my mom go through several, very critical surgeries and accidents, and she almost battled being completely immobile, and even now she's partially immobile. So seeing her through the surgeries and recovery was tough and very, very low. Likewise, I had my husband who went through a freak accident, and in Korea during the COVID times, and he was almost 3 months in the bed. So I think these times were my lowest moments. Actually, how did I cope with it? I'm not very good at coping with low times, especially when it comes to my family member. I have to say I'm not. And in fact, my strength is my husband. And he always tells me, when you have somebody's health or, health life at risk, don't overthink. Don't read the internet about too many things which can go wrong. Just do what the doctor says and do it very clinically with a very cold mind, and don't overthink it. Just do the best you could. Go to the best hospital, go to the best doctor, put everything aside and just focus on their health. And I think that kept me going. And ultimately, I'm a very positive and very optimistic person. So I tend to be over optimistic in most things. So that is my second strength. So first is not a strength, but I seek strength from others. And second one is I'm very positive, and I just ask for help to all the people that I could. That's the lowest point.
And your funniest experience?
Many. I am a very, very funny person, and I don't know if I can bring my funny self to life here, but I've had many funny moments. I have to think about some for sure. Let me think about that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, may I request Ms. Beena to please unmute and...
Hi, Sonu ma'am, and hi, Balaka, and all my friends who joined. Unfortunately, I'm outside today, so I'm forced to wear a mask. But I did not want to miss the opportunity to watch you, Balaka, so I'm here. And,
thank you, Beena.
And for everyone who knows Balaka, the one thing that strikes us is how humble she is, in spite of the achievements she has gained professionally. She's a very humble person and a very warm friend. And you're a great pride to all of us here, Balaka, so I wanted to share that. And my question to you, and maybe to all of us women who juggle professional and personal life, is being at this point in your career, I see how well you're balancing your family and your work life. So give us, what's your mantra there? Give us some tips.
Beena, I think you know it also, that it's never something that I have or any of us have completely sorted out. So till today, I have moments of extreme stress and I cry if I have to be at work and, my daughter is unwell and I couldn't be with her. So I have this extreme moments where, I feel like I can't go on anymore, but I think those are few. So what I have learned over the time and which has worked for me well is number one, not trying to be perfect in everything. And I used to be a huge perfectionist. If the bed sheet is not laid in a certain way, I just get mad. And if the food is not cooked well, I get very upset because I have very high standard on how the food should be cooked and made. And over time, I read more and more books, especially one book which I have, which is called Drop the Ball. And I learned I have to drop some balls and I have to decide what are the most important things for me, which I should not drop, and rest everything I have dropped. So one thing which is not a magic trick, but is a fact, I work very hard and, I really work hard. I feel like sometimes I work almost 18 to 20 hours, both home, work, my daughter, but I love it. Second, I have given up on things which I would have loved. I have given up on, I don't know when I last watched a Netflix or a TV. I simply can't. If I have to sleep. So I decided, okay, the 5 things that are most important to me are first, myself. I have to look after my health, my fitness, my food, everything. I have to do that. Second, I'm a mom. So that's no one will take that responsibility more than me. Third, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, and I'm a PNG executive. I earn my salary from there, and I'm passionate about my work. So anything else, socializing, entertainment, which doesn't fit in this, will always be my second priority. So that's how I try to make it work, knowing that I'm not going to be perfect in everything. Even now, I have a list of 10 things I have to do in Chuseok to make sure the house is in order. But if I get through 5, I'll be lucky, Beena.
Well, keep going, keep rocking, Balaka.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Binaji. And I'm sure all would agree, as Ms. Balaka has said, we all have our multiple identities. We are juggling into different roles every day, and how best we are able to balance all of them is what makes you a perfect person. With this, we move over to Ms. Namrata. Ms. Namrata, can you unmute and ask your question, please?
Yes. Thanks. First of all, I would like to thank ICCR and Sonu ma'am for giving us wonderful opportunities to listen to these wonderful women and all the intelligent people who you bring on board. And we are celebrating our 75th year of independence. Heartiest congratulations to ICCR for always making every day special for us. And I would like to congratulate Ms. Balaka, not only for representing India here in Korea, but also teaching us a lot of lessons of women empowerment, gender equality, and whatever she talks is a lesson to learn. So my question to you, Balaka, today is how do you take or how do you make difficult decisions in your professional and personal life?
Thank you, Namrata. You and Beena are very kind with your very nice words. And, I have to admit that I've been impressed by the sheer talent that exists in the Indian community here, including your Hindi and your poetry, which, I love to the core.
Thank you.
So thank you for always, helping. I think the Embassy of India also helps bring all this together that, I see so many of our women friends who are exceptional and they have such a big potential and they are raring to do their best. So on making decisions, 2 different things. So at work and at home, very different way I make decisions. But in general, the common theme is I make a lot of decision with intuition and judgment. I don't overthink something too much. That's me. I want to make fast decision. I don't deliberate for a very long time. The second thing I see is what's at stake. So if I made the wrong decision, what would happen? And I try to play out that, okay, if I made a decision to buy, let's say, a car versus that car, I cannot go horribly wrong. It's okay. I mean, it will be fine. So I try to think about what's at stake. If it's something to do with somebody's life or somebody's health, then I make a much more conservative decision. But if it is something to do with which could be very big opportunity, it could be investment or it could be learning a new skill, then I am much more adventurous and much more aggressive. Likewise, at work, I try to look at data and then experience. So who has the most experience of dealing with this, and where is the data or the science behind it, and then top it up with some intuition, evaluate usual pros and cons. But over the years, I've learned that the art of decision making is partially about facts, data, and the science, and also partially about intuition and how we can bring our strong intuition to decision making, because our intuition is not bias alone. It's made up of our past experiences of handling, and I think that can give us a lot of courage and confidence. And I'm not afraid of failure, and I've had many failures. I'm not afraid of failure as long as it's not going to hurt somebody. And that's my philosophy. So when it comes to big decisions at work, there are only two big decisions where I cannot get wrong: hiring someone and building something, which is like investing in a capacity. Apart from that, most other decisions are reversible. So any reversible decision, I'm very aggressive.
Thank you so much, Balaka. May we learn and may we grow with each other.
Thank you, Ms. Namrata.
Sure.
Can I request Ms. Shweta?
Hi, Balaka. Such a pleasure to ask you this question on this platform. Pardon the background. I'm at the beach, so there's beach waves. My question is: did you always have this ambition and goal in your mind that one day you'll end up as a CEO? Were you working towards that, or you just went with the flow?
Thank you, Shweta. Your background is amazing. It's glowing. I did not. In fact, yesterday I was talking to my dad about this topic on ambition, and I feel like our dreams and ambition evolve with time, because we don't know everything. There is a Hindi poetry which I think Namrata would know, when I read very early in my childhood, in which it's about a bird who is inside the nest and is an egg, and when the bird just comes out of the egg, for her the world is the nest, and then the tree is the world, and then the sky becomes the world ultimately. So it has evolved. But from my childhood, I think it's my upbringing. I have to say my parents were very ambitious and very keen that I do well in whatever I do. They never said you have to do X, Y, Z, but they said whatever you do, you have to do well. And I still remember that, my dad used to tell me, either you're the first or you're no one. No one will remember you if you're the second. So they kind of ingrained that in me, and that remained. But I try to work hard and be sincere. But over the years, when I learned and I saw more, I thought, yeah, this could be a practical ambition. And I try to see at least 10 years ahead what I want to do. And it used to be that I want to head a country, and I have some such ambition which I have put down, including what I will possibly do after I retire. So I'll work towards it. It may or may not happen, and it may change with time. So it's both.
Thank you so much.
You.
Answers a lot of future questions I already had. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shweta. We now move over to our last question, as we will be also approaching our time. Mansi. Ms. Mansi, can you unmute and ask?
Yeah. Hello, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Hello, Balaka. Hello, ma'am. So I have a very woman question from you. For you, I think the perfect tagline is beauty with brains. I want to understand, one, how do you balance it? And secondly, what's the secret behind it?
I've never heard that from anyone, Mansi. Thank you. I need to talk to you more often when I need my boost on beauty. So how do I balance it? Actually, beauty is probably genes. I don't know, but yeah, I work for SK2, by the way. And in my company, I used to be the commercial leader for SK2, which is a beauty care and prestige company. And I learned a lot about beauty, and I try to teach to my daughter. And who knows it better than you, Mansi, on nutrition? So I think beauty is a lot more inside you, and how you look after yourself, your diet, your exercise, your sleep, which I'm not very good at, but I'll get there. And more importantly, how do you feel about yourself, right? So I know it sounds very bookish, but that's true. I don't spend too much time on beauty. I hardly spend any time at all, but I think it's more to do with that. And when I feel good about myself, I also feel like I'm able to do well. And at my work, I have, I've got so much consultation from my team and from my PR team. I must look a certain way. I must look, presentable. So it's also a part of my job that I have to be presentable. So I don't spend too much time on it. So I don't have to work harder to balance. But yes, I do try to follow some basic rules of, I don't have any vices, and I try to eat healthy and try to do some exercise.
That's amazing. So that's what makes you get the tagline of beauty with brains. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mansi.
Thank you, Man. Ashima has a question. Ashima, we already took your question, but you can be very brief in raising your question again here if you have something different.
Yeah. Hi, Balaka ma'am. Thank you so much for the inspiring talk. My question is just the same, but with a little addition. What was your lowest moment in your career and how did you overcome it? If you could please share.
She has already responded to that. If you have something else, maybe. We took your question from the chat box.
No, I think you're talking about work, not personal, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I'll answer you very quickly. Actually, you won't believe it. And I'm not saying it with any offense. I respect my company, and I have a lot of gratitude towards my work, which has given me a lot. But I have always learned to take my work in its right perspective. End of the day, our work is a way and a means. So typically nothing at work stresses me out so much, because I know that end of the day, I'm selling soaps and shampoo. It's fine. So I have not had personal low moments, but the times when I have been pensive or I have been very shaken are the times when I've had to make very tough decisions on people, which impacted their jobs or their livelihood. And those are the toughest of the decisions that I've made. They were not low points for me, but they impacted me because I knew them personally. I knew their wife, and I've had many, many difficult decisions, be it, with distributors, with employees. And good thing is that thanks to, everything that their trust in my relationship, some of them, even though I made very tough decisions, they continue to be great friends for me. So I try to keep work as work, and at work, I have to do things which are the right thing to do. That doesn't make me or someone a bad person. So I try to value the individuality rather than what they bring to work. So that is how I've tried to deal with it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashima. Well, on this note, I think this is time to wrap up, and we would like to thank Ms. Balaka for being so accepting all the questions and speaking right from your heart and being so frank and open in expressing yourself. You've spoken about your work life, your personal experiences, your high points, your low points. So I'm sure our participants would have also learned a lot, some inspiring things from you, and many, many things that we also have to learn, and maybe we will try to see how we can also imbibe all those things in our daily lives. Thank you, Ms. Balaka, and all the live participants once again for being with us here today, and also for making some very good interventions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Trivedi, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you to all the viewers. May we learn and inspire each other, and let's stay safe, and let's have a very happy Chuseok. And I hope to see you all soon, sometime face to face as well.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you to the Embassy of India for bringing us together once again.
Yeah. Sure, we will certainly try to meet face to face, and hopefully see that we can have this conversation series face to face rather than just sitting in front of the screen. And it's been an engaging discussion. Hope to meet you all in the next episode in another interesting conversation with Indian diaspora in Republic of Korea. Before we close, I have to make a formal announcement. For all, as we begin the 7th edition of our annual Festival of India and Republic of Korea, Sarang 2021, at Nami Island on 25th and 26th of September. That is coming Saturday and Sunday. So this is my open invitation to all of you. You may join us for getting a glimpse of India in the lap of nature at this picturesque surrounding of this exotic Nami Island. We have cultural performances, yoga, Indian food, Mehndi, Rangoli, exhibition on Indian art and craft, and many more hands-on experience. Entry at the island is free for all the Indian community members and students of Indian studies in Korea. So hope to see you all face to face this coming Saturday you will get to experience more about India. Till then, thank you all. Thank you. Kamsahamnida.